Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special broadcast where we're going to be sharing mind body miracles, real stories, real healing, embracing health success. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a physician. My name is Dr. Kim Duramo, and I have been sharing really how to heal from the inside out, how your mind and body are connected, how you have the ability to activate neuroplasticity, changes in your brain, changes in your nervous system, and hardwiring, because the foundation of your health and everything you're manifesting has to do with your own internal communication system. You're like a giant computer system constantly emitting a signal that not only goes to your own cells, letting them know to express the programming for health, for vitality, for I get to be fully alive, or the opposite of that. But also everything in your life. You are a manifesting machine, and your body is the technology for that. You are constantly sending an electromagnetic signal. People will feel you, that it really supersedes your words or what you're trying to do or what you're consciously intending. This inner system is communicating a signal that supersedes all of that. So everything that's showing up in your life, in your money, in your work, in your relationships, and of course, in your health is really a reflection of that inner communication, of that inner electromagnetic signaling. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your unconscious, traumas that you may be holding, emotions you may be suppressing. All of this goes into the mix of what is being created by your system in every moment. And you have the ability to change that. And that's why, as a physician, I have devoted my work to be about shifting that foundational level, shifting in the inner mind body system. Because no matter what we do physically or medically to do intervention, nothing is going to be more powerful and potent than this inner signaling. And guess what? It is so easy to make changes in this inner communication system. And so, welcome to this special episode where we're going to be sharing testimonials from people I have worked with who've been in my Embracing Health program, who have witnessed miracles in their life, from diseases that they were told would never heal, or this is impossible, or people being in with debilitating illnesses for years, housebound, having repeated surgeries and nothing would work, diseases that were fatal, told that you're not going to live, and having turnarounds, having a miracle happen where their body resolved that condition. But so many of these individuals have also shared like major miracles in their lives, in their relationships, in their money and prosperity, that they were able to receive that and let that in to all new levels. And so this is not just for some special person who works really hard at it. It's for all of us to begin to access. And so I'm going to share today, and I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from, who is here with us today, and where you're listening from in the world. We have an awesome international audience. It's been so inspiring to me that so many people all over the world are ready for this, can hear this, are choosing this. And, if you look at the world right now, there are a lot of people who are still sort of doubling down on closure and like really trying to do the nose to the grindstone and force things to work and make it work within that closure matrix, where they really feel unsafe. They really feel unloved. They really feel unworthy at a subconscious level. And so guess what? Your body's going to manifest that, not what you're consciously intending. We have to rewrite the patterning. We have to release what's in the way of your freedom, your prosperity, and your vibrant health. And so if you're ready for this, I am super excited to be sharing. And I would love to hear, yes, I'm ready. If you feel like, yeah, even if you don't understand what I'm talking about, like, whoa, I'm ready for massive, unthinkable change and opening and prosperity in my life, in my manifestation. I'm ready to be at the helm of my own ship, consciously creating, instead of sort of like passively experiencing and reacting to what's happening. So hello, Heidi, Carol, yes, I'm ready. Amy from BC, Canada. Carol is from Scottsdale, Arizona. Patty from New York, hello. Awesome to have you guys. Hello, Lena in France. We do have Simon here, who's going to be our first guest. He has an amazing story where he was, housebound for over a year on disability, like lost everything, wasn't able to work anymore from the experience with long COVID, was diagnosed with long COVID. Who here has been diagnosed with an obscure illness or told you have blah, blah, blah. And you're like, is that made up? What is that? There are ways your body can resolve this that may not be understood by conventional medical practitioners, but it doesn't mean your body's wisdom isn't on it and can't handle it. Nicole is from Idaho. Hello. Suzanne from Netherlands. Cheryl, wow, I finally caught you live. Sunny Cold, Connecticut. Yay. All right. Great to see you guys. Keep typing in as we go. So I'm going to bring Simon on in just a moment. And I just want to ask everyone here to begin to breathe into your body, because what I'm saying will bounce off your system if you're in your ordinary high beta brainwave frequency of your ordinary thoughts and consciousness, because that is not a state where we can let in new information. And so when we do our Embracing Health course and I work with people live, the first thing I do is help get them in their body, like your awareness, your attention in your body, because that will shift your brain wave functioning, actually shifts your brain patternings. Just breathing into your chest. You can put your hand on your heart, relaxing your belly, relaxing your shoulders. It turns on your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxation response. We have 40, 50 years of medical research demonstrating that that is what ignites self-healing. And the last several decades demonstrating that that is what also ignites conscious manifestation. So not just healing in the body. And so listen from your heart, soften your body, take a few deep breaths. If you're ready for major change, say, yes, I'm ready. And just soften your body, because your receptive state is what lets new information in. And so that's where I'd ask you to listen from today. Hello, Suzanne from Ireland. Carol, can arthritis be reversed? Yes, absolutely, unequivocally, yes. And what happens before the actual decrease of the inflammation or bony change becomes demonstrated is that you can actually have pain relief and improvement of function first, even if the physiologic change have not resolved yet. Yes, that can happen and has been demonstrated medically that you can also allow bony change. But sometimes even before that has happened, there is resolution of pain and regaining of function. So you can decrease the inflammation right now immediately. And over time, the bone can be resorbed back to more of a normal formation of bone. This is not just me saying it. This has been medically demonstrated. But it doesn't even matter. You don't have to wait for that. You can have resolution of symptoms even before that happens. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis over 20 years ago. And my rheumatoid factor, hold on, it's going by so fast. Oops, sorry. Where did it go? It went away. I think I lost the comment. It just went away. Please repost. Yeah. So one of the things we can see is those biological factors, the lab results can change right away, where you're no longer inflamed. You're no longer continuing to generate moment to moment inflammation. And then over time, the body can reverse the process and resorb that. It really depends on you making these inner shifts in your nervous system. So I'm not going to say yeah, this is going to happen in 1 second just by your intending it. You've got to pattern that into the cellular. You've got to update your cells with this new messaging. I'm at peace. All is well. I can be vibrantly alive and feel good and be free. That is a frequency that creates physiologic changes in your body, in your nervous system, in your immune system, certainly in your musculoskeletal system, that can reverse inflammation and ultimately create change in the internal body physically. Carol was saying, can arthritis be reversed? The medical community says no, but I've heard that it's possible. Yes. And the more, I've studied this for 35 years of my life plus. as you begin to study this, and that's why I wanted to share the testimonials today, as you begin to witness this, it changes the way you think about everything. Because if one person can heal and reverse bony arthritis and degenerative joint disease and rheumatoid and fill in the blank, how could I do that as well? That's the question you want to ask. What conventional medicine does is it's like, well, those are outliers. Here's what's typically happening. Let's just follow that. And yet, if you don't make any internal changes to your brain patterning, to your nervous system, to your hardwiring and cellular messaging, that is probably where you're going to go. This will continue to generate and you'll continue to have progressive dysfunction. Yep. But if we make these changes, that is absolutely not true and is not your course going forward. So do you want to make change is really the question. And then getting the tools, the support, the resources that assist you in accelerating that change. That's amazing. Such good news, especially the pain reduction, even before the physiological changes. Yes. Awesome. And I see this every day. We will do this in the Embracing Health course where I'm working with you over the course of the year. So anyone who wants to jump in for that, we will share the link here that you can go look at the page, feel it out, register to join us this year. Yeah, that comment did seem to go away, but I was diagnosed, Wendy, with psoriatic arthritis, even though I've never had psoriasis. Yeah. So the physiology can do these weird things that we then try to make sense of medically from the limited understanding of purely physical in the body, right? Because in our conventional system, we've not integrated the past 40 years of sort of quantum science or your body is energetic or mind-body communication science of like your thoughts are physiological, your emotions are chemical, expressions that are affecting your inflammation or your health. And so we really need to begin to incorporate that. We can do that in this way. Textbooks are minimum 25 years old, usually 50 years old of what's being taught in the curriculum today. So do you want to access 50, 100 years ago of what we understood medically, or do you want to access what we understand now and begin utilizing what we are demonstrating and seeing for people being able to heal? All right, Michigan. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you. Your symptoms are a reflection of your inner state. Yes. The medical community says so many conditions are permanent. And you know what, Patty, if you don't change any of that inner physiology, they're absolutely right. Yes, that MS is probably going to go in this direction and worsen, and here's what it's going to look like. That's if you don't make foundational changes. But we can make major, solid, lasting, foundational changes that completely shift your physiology out of that inflamed state that creates cancer or arthritis or autoimmune disease or Hashimoto's or inflammatory bowel disease. Like fill in the blank. There is a long list of diseases that get created from that inflammatory process of you living in fear. Alan said, I'm totally disease-free. There's many people who are going to come forward and share today. So let's get started on that. Thank you guys for being here. All right, let's bring Simon. I'm so excited to have you here, Simon, to share your story and what this has been like, both with healing a very severe chronic illness when doctors had no solutions for you. I know you were housebound for over a year and had an amazing story you shared with us in the past about how like your recovery and getting your energy back coincided with these massive emotional releases and awakenings as you're integrated physiologically at a new level. Will you just introduce yourself and share that story?
Yeah. Hi, Kim. Thanks for letting me share my story.
I can't hear. Oh, yes, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, to all of the people who are suffering with an intense condition, all I can say is that I really relate to how challenging that is, and the profound suffering and the fear and the sadness that can come with that. So what I really want to communicate today is that strong health and a life of freedom is available. And this is really what I experienced through doing all of this work. My journey, as Kim touched on, was incredibly challenging. 2022 and 2023 were really brutal years for me. For a number of different reasons. But I got contracted COVID in August 2022. And as Kim said, That then developed into severe post-COVID syndrome, and I was housebound for 1 year, and really alone in my apartment, face down on the floor, like with really very little idea of how I was going to find a route out. I had 16 different symptoms. The research now shows that quality of life for long COVID sufferers is as bad as having Parkinson's disease. So you're this ill, and there's no medical pathways. Society doesn't understand. It's a really scary place to be. And there were periods where I was like really seriously suicidal for months in that journey. It was incredibly intense. So I was there alone in my apartment. My body was totally dysregulated. I couldn't handle any kind of stimulus or input. I could barely read for like 10 minutes, and then I would have to lie down for 2 hours and do breath work because I was having heart palpitations. It was very intense. So I kind of went on this journey, initially very masculine, of fix, how do I fix this? And I was trying to put together like all of the medical solutions I could read in this kind of research medicine, in like journals, but I could really barely read. So I started doing these experiments on myself. I realized I had like very intense blood clotting. And I mean, really looking back, I should have been in some kind of like sensory deprivation intensive care unit. You know, you're so ill. So I'm going through the research science myself, doing these experiments on myself. Some things worked and some things didn't. Eventually I had this kind of period of just pure surrender. And I was just like, after 6 months, I just kind of surrendered, lay on the floor of my apartment, and had some interesting insights. But after about 10 months, I'd finally kind of stabilized my health. The virus didn't flare up anymore. And I treated some of the pathologies, but I was at about 30% health. And I saw this kind of trajectory to get better. And I was like, this is going to take years potentially. And I was just like, this is not me. This is not my life. There has to be another way. So I started to explore mind body work, and in different ways. I thought it was interesting, and I'd had some interesting experiences. I'd come across your tapping, Kim, and that had been very beneficial. And embracing health was coming up. And so in the summer of that year, and I was like, wow, this sounds really powerful. But I didn't totally get it at that point. So your message was, if you can clear enough intergenerational conditioning and personal trauma and energy depleting behaviors and energy and attitudes, you can recover overnight. You know, this is what I was hearing. And I kind of got it, but I didn't totally understand it. So I was kind of then in my mind, I was like, wow, this sounds really powerful. But yeah, then I had doubts. You know, I was broke, as you said. I was really surviving on social security money. I'd put myself in this zone of like, okay, there's no help. I've got to do this myself, and then I've got no money. I'm just going to put it together myself. I thought maybe it could disturb this stability that I generated, even though it was such a low level. I was like, do I have trauma? Is it about wealth? I didn't understand this kind of message of wealth. Is it a cultural fit? Is it too esoteric for me if it doesn't work? So these were all the doubts that I had. And so, but there was something kind of below that. And there was a trust that I found. I really trusted you, Kim, and the message that you're presenting, your commitment, your vulnerability, your conviction. And I just felt like, okay, you know something. You've done this so many times, it felt like. So I just kind of had this trust eventually. But I was really going back and forth a lot in my mind. But I signed up, and I felt immediately very held. Even before the program started, there was a sense of like, okay, I feel held. there's your leadership, there's your content, there's these incredibly generous, empathetic mentors who are there with so much love guiding you. And then there's the group of other people who are going through this journey, which is so powerful. I'd never done any kind of group work. And just that in itself was really, really, I think, one of the biggest factors, because you're learning so much from everybody else. So we started to do the work, and it's challenging, especially when you're really ill. It's challenging work to get into. And for 3 months, we just suddenly went very, very deep. There was this kind of, you had all these people who were like, okay, let's do this. It went very deep. And I got down really to clear these 3 huge densities from the bottom of my soul. And I cried really for like months. And then, even after the first of these big things that I cleared at the bottom of my soul, then the disease resolved overnight. And it really was like inexplicable. It was I could not believe it. But I'd been alone in my apartment for a year. And then the next day, after clearing this first big thing, I could get on my bike and I cycled 2 hours round Berlin. And it really, I could not believe it. And it's still like when I think about like communicating what I wanted to communicate today, it makes me like cry, because I just remember the suffering, the profound suffering of that year, and then the insane gift that came from the program. So the disease resolved. And then the program continued, and the program really is like a very genius program. Kim synthesized so many things, and there is such an abundance of content. I mean, I also thought before I started, how can there be so much content? But you may get the sense that Kim is creating from really another kind of level. So the program continued. It really supported me to rehab myself, because I'd been alone in my apartment for a year, so I was weak, and my mind, I was very anxious. So I could rehab my mind, I could rehab my body, and then I could, after that, kind of reintegrate back into society with a lot of purpose, So I really, the program continued, and then that's health, but it then delivered so much more. And so, I mean, it's very hard to think about like how ill I was at the start, like really how inexplicably ill I was, and then where I could get to within a year, and then now, I mean, only 18 months later, really. So, so it's not just health, and there is some profound gift that comes from clearing like so much emotion from your system and reconnecting with your deepest self. There is just some profound gift that comes from that. And my life has changed so profoundly. I really, like 2 years ago from today, I was at rock bottom, like suicidally depressed, face down on the floor of my apartment. Now, I'm engaged. I'm in Mexico City currently. Me and my partner led a yoga and mindfulness retreat here in the jungle in Mexico. I'm working as a coach. I'm training for Buddhist ordination at the moment. I'm doing my brand consultancy that I used to do for really positive causes. So, I just want to tell everybody who's out there, I really recovered my health. But I also, which is a priceless gift in itself. But I repurposed my nervous system for joy and vitality and for freedom in a way that is totally like still inexplicable to me. I experience miracles every day, and it's not that life is not challenging and things don't come up. Things are really challenging, but somehow with these tools, you just learn that you can roll with everything. And yeah, so I can remember that it was really challenging for me to commit to doing the program, financially, and all of these doubts that I had. So I can really relate to anybody who's going through that. Honestly, it was the best decision I think I ever made in my life. Joining the program, it's profoundly changed my life. And so what I would say is just really, try to connect to your intuition, and drop into your intuition as much as possible and try to listen to that. Our mind wants to keep us in predictable safety, and so we'll work very hard to stop us making big leaps. But really, all I would say is invest in yourself. Like, these situations are so challenging. And it puts you in this mode when there's no help. It puts you in a mode of, I've got to try and do this by myself. But just invest in yourself, invest in taking support. I really believe that if what Kim is saying is resonating to you, and if the program resonates, then all I can say is really just go for it, because the potential is so massive.
I want to share with you, Simon, I'll ask you about this part that was challenging. So beautiful what you shared, and I teared up too, because I've felt that same experience of like so much suffering when I'm in my own limitation, and what a miracle it is when we enter a field beyond that, where healing can happen, where solutions come out of seemingly nowhere. And one thing I wanted to say, you said I'm engaged, and it sounds like, yeah, now I'm engaged in life, but you are in fact engaged to be married.
Yes.
With the love of your life. And I know that was one of the miracles that happened for you as a result of this work as well.
Yeah.
Opening your heart.
Yeah, exactly. And so, so the initial work was like confronting ourselves and our deepest energies, seemingly. I mean, I didn't know what to expect when I got into the program, but it took me on a journey of confronting my biggest demons that I had suppressed. And the gift in releasing all of that is the energy that your body recovers. So all of that emotion is really is taking a lot of energy that unconsciously. So I released that, and then all of this energy came, and my body could like resolve this disease overnight. So this was wild, but it was very challenging to confront all of those demons.
Yes.
Once I got into life again this year, and then was kind of realized I was in love with my friend, and told her, again, it wasn't an easy journey for both of us. And it brought up a lot of fear for me to like receive this really incredible person. And it still continues. Our relationship's moving very quickly, and there's some complexity involved. And there's a lot of still kind of contraction that comes. But just being able to choose like expansion over and over, and to come into the heart when your mind just really does not want you to expand that much. And it just wants to keep you safe in a predictable, known pattern. It will really work so hard to keep you in separation, So yeah, I mean, the miracles that have come, like to allow me to receive the relationship, are like wild, and that could be we could do a whole episode on that. So
we'll have to do that. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, when you said it was so challenging, do you feel that you would have ever been able to do that on your own, as challenging as it was? Do you feel like this gave you the support to overcome those challenges? And when you said, like in the beginning, it was like, okay, I get this, but I have no money. Let me do this on my own. Do you think you ever would have been able to go through the depth of those, emotional upheavals on your own? And do you feel that having this forum made it easier to move beyond those challenges?
Yeah. So I think, an individual could try and do it by themselves, or you could even do it with one kind of person. But there has been so much power in doing it as a group, you know? So not only because your leadership is really unique and like hard to quantify, like what you've put together and what you've synthesized. So you've synthesized so many different elements that go into the program. So I think that is very unique and extremely valuable in itself. But then you have a team of volunteers, mentors, sorry, who are then delivering so much love and support every day. And then you have the group. And so I think what happens with the group is that you are experiencing their journeys at the same time. And that helps you clear a lot of energy yourself. And it starts to validate what you're experiencing in your journey as you move forward. So there are periods where things would happen. And if you were by yourself, you would think that this, like, say your throat, you're experiencing like closure in your throat, and you wouldn't know what that meant, or you could really easily kind of disregard that if you're doing it yourself, you know? And so I was also experimenting with this work, and I didn't know how far to push it by myself, you know? So that's the other thing. It's like, I don't know how far to go with this, you know? So what the program really gave me is, this incredible container. And it's not that it excludes anything else. It's just this incredible container where everybody's doing this work together. It's super inspirational, and to see everybody doing their work. And then you've got your content, your leadership, the mentors who are there by your side, and everybody else who's doing it.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say to someone who maybe is intimidated to embark on those challenges versus like, oh, no, they're too big, or it's too challenging, it's too big. I'd rather not confront my biggest demons. What I've intended is that this creates so much support that it gives you the ability to do that with so much greater ease, that you can do things you would never have been able to do on your own. And that, like you said, the result is so worth what you're going through in order to create that. Do you have anything else to speak on with that, or with people who have like that, like you have that same financial, like, well, I have no money, so how can I invest more? Or I've already invested so much, who are having that kind of like demon come in, like try to keep them from going forward. What might you say to that person?
Yeah. So to the first question, I think the pacing of the course over 12 months just really allows everybody to go at their own pace, and to really to go at their own pace, basically. So I think there is just so much support within the container that I think it makes it, if the work is, if this is resonating with you, then I think anybody can come in and do it at your own pace, you know. And then the second question around the finances, I think it comes back to this, just like investing in yourself. I'd been alone for like 10 months, like battling, and I'd had some good support from different people, but finally investing in taking support, it really signaled something very strongly to my nervous system, I think. And I don't know, there was something about making that investment in yourself that really, I don't know, started to accelerate the journey for me.
Yeah, that's really a common thing people will say too, is that just the choice is what creates that shift. The choice is, and the action is what creates the acceleration. So we see that really, really frequently. So thank you for sharing that. I greatly appreciate your enthusiasm and your passion for getting the word out about this. Do you want to share where people can find you? Because I know you're doing really expansive work as well, and to have people be able to connect with you, I think would be really nurturing for them as well.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. My name is just my name. So it's instagram.com/Simon Nocton. So you can find me there.
Okay, Simon Knockton, Knockton, for anyone who wants to reach out to Simon. I love you so much. I'm so grateful for you showing up in the world and finding the courage to invest in yourself. And like you said, like regain that energy that can go into your health and your well-being. And what a gift you are to the world. Thank you, Simon.
Thanks, Kim. Likewise.
That was so beautiful, you guys. I would love to take any little questions. In the meantime, we have another person who's going to be coming on to share her story as well. How does this land for you? How does it make you feel in your body as you listen? Because the first thing with change is be receptive, like soften your body. Just everybody do this now where you breathe in and bring your shoulders up to your ears and then just make a sound, breathe out, and let your shoulders relax. And what this does is it opens the nervous system and your electromagnetic system to greater receptivity. So it's, you let something in you didn't already understand. When we're in the ordinary arrangement of the programming, it's tight. Wait, what do you mean? I don't understand. What is she saying? Is she saying da-da-da? Well, what about da-da? And you're in the mind because you're remaining in the program as you're trying to change it. And so like, who's ready here? Say, I'm ready. If you're actually ready for major foundational change, like to live and reside in true prosperity versus like the pseudo prosperity of just working harder and harder, true peace and well-being, true freedom, say, I'm ready. The thing that needs to happen in order for that is you've got to let something new in, and you've got to allow your system to release what you're holding on to. And so I would invite you to listen from that space of receptivity as we bring Susan on, and share anything about what came up with you. Carol said, could you speak with how you work with intergenerational trauma and programming? It's so much easier than you think. Your system will bring up whatever is here that's ready to be let go. Like, what's the next thing that's most holding you back? And then what's the next thing? So you don't have to go in the mind of like, all right, several generations back, there was this, abortion or a rape or a war or a famine or this is what is in my genetics. Like, we're not doing this from the head. It is so much easier. Your system will bring up the energy of it. And you don't even need to know like, oh yeah, this is in my dad's side, or, oh, this is from my mom's lineage. Like, we're not in the head with this. Your system already knows, just like it knows how to prioritize healing with like, okay, we got to clear Epstein-Barr virus or Lyme disease or regenerate the thyroid. Okay, how do we do that? What needs to happen first? It will prioritize it for you. Sometimes it's something seemingly so unrelated, like anger at my mother. Like, no, I don't want to deal with my mother. Got to deal with my thyroid. But you don't realize how much like resolving some of the anger will free up all the energy that allows your thyroid to regenerate sometimes very, very quickly. So the body's wisdom will prioritize that. And yes, it can bring up genetic stuff, lineage stuff. Like, is it the quote unquote past life stuff? Like there's something in another dimension. I don't even know what this is, but there's this energy coming up. Your body knows how to resolve that and will use the tools to do exactly that. So it's easy. Carol said, my family has a pattern of dying in their 60s, and I'm now in my 60s and suddenly aging rapidly. Yes, those are the programmings we are talking about here. They are programs. They're programs that tell your cells how to behave, tell your DNA how to behave. And yes, we can shift those dynamically at the foundational level, the level of just who you understand yourself to be. I'm not a physical being having maybe a spiritual experience. I am a spiritual being having a seemingly limited and physical experience. What is the truth? When we ground into the truth, the system patterns to that higher template. I become more youthful, more agile, and more vibrant as I move forward in my life. And so do you feel how that's a new program? That's a different vibration. So those are some of the things we're going to let in. Amy said it was one of the greatest investments that has provided 10x and more of what I could have imagined. Amy from the Embracing Health program and investing in this work. Heidi, yes, it's the frequency of Kim and the course and the supportive community calls are truly miraculous. Yes, Carol, thanks for tuning in and sharing your questions. For me, I did not have the money to join. And then my friend unexpectedly sent me the exact amount. This is not uncommon, you guys. This is very, very typical that all of a sudden the money appeared. So get into the energy of your yes and of what if. Like, whoa, instead of the energy of, oh, no, I can't. Oh, that's too expensive. Oh, I don't have the money. Oh, I don't have the time. Oh, I already know it won't work for me. Don't let the doubt be in the driver's seat. Amy said, that has never happened before in my life. It is very typical that people will suddenly have some access to funds or money or resources they didn't know existed. So just percolate in the energy of, whoa, what might happen here? Heidi said, I asked myself if I could afford not to invest in myself. I've received 1,000 times of what I invested in my health, my freedom, and my wholeness. Thank you guys for sharing this. The page is drkimd.com/health. So you can go to the page to register. The main thing I want to do here is just get everybody begin to see, because sometimes you don't believe it till you see it. So see it, hear it. We're going to bring Susan on to share her story, but hearing it from other people besides just me, because I've been passionate about this since I was very young. I had an awakening experience. I had all of this deep insight into what truly is actually health, actually manifestation about. And I didn't have words for it at the time. I didn't understand manifestation or electromagnetics or freaking like the energy field, or like, I just experienced it. And since then have been coming more and more into the alignment to share this and bring this into the field of medicine for how we understand health and how we approach healing. So the more people you hear who've been through this transition and this journey, the more you begin to accept it for yourself. So welcome to Susan. Thank you so much for being here. Susan had a journey with illness. I'll let her share the specifics of that, and was very much in the head. She is a psychologist, a therapist, and her system was very practiced into the thinking mind. But in that paradigm she lived in, there were not solutions. There was not the ability to heal, to get her energy back, to move forward in her business in the ways she's now moving forward in her work, sharing this with others. To have that freedom then went beyond what she understood about money, what she understood about what I'm able to do, what I can and can't do, and to really give herself that freedom and then see her life reflect that with healing physical illness and moving more into prosperity in her work as well. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I can't say enough about how embracing health has really helped me heal that victim mentality. I did, just a little bit of my story more specifically, I did grow up in a family where there was a lot of illness. People would get ill and they would pass. And I grew up with that belief system that, yeah, you just kind of, that's your lot in life. And in my adulthood, I did spend about 20 years being very sick. I had cancer. I had bladder cancer 3 times. I had breast cancer. I had skin cancer. I also had an autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's. So I was constantly either looking at symptoms, panicking about symptoms, getting diagnoses, or fighting to fix it in my head. What can I do? What should I eat? How should I exercise? How should I sleep? What's the next thing? And it was exhausting and it was terrifying. And I call it like circling the drain. I was just fighting to try and get better. And so that was all going on the inside. And then on the outside, like Kim said, I was getting a degree, getting a license, doing a practice, having a family. I looked on the outside like, oh yeah, I got this. I'm just going to do more and more and I'll be okay, and just gripping and never really addressing what was going on the inside. I was so resistant to feeling into that. So I think it was some of the very early Embracing Health videos that you did where you'd be on for like 15 or 20 minutes and you'd have people slow down and breathe into their body and soften. And just those words, I can even feel it a little bit right now. Like I got relief for the first time ever inside my body. Like any other time in my life, relief was just about distracting. It was not real relief. And so, oh, I feel teary just talking about it. That was what started me on my journey of like, wait, maybe there is another way. Maybe I don't have to fight this. Maybe I don't have to be in resistance. And so Embracing Health was the tool. It was the program. It was the community. And it was all of your work, Kim, where I really could begin to embody my experience and meet myself where I was. And I didn't have to pretend to be something else. I had this outer, it was like I was living from here up, and I had this persona, and I was ignoring all of this because it was so terrifying. So it's been, I can't even say enough. I feel like I've turned the light on in the lighthouse. That's something that you say sometimes. And I really, like, I get that. I feel it. It's like, yes, no, this joy is inside of me and I get to bring it out. And so for so long, also going to my work, I worked as a psychotherapist, and I would treat people who had trauma because I knew trauma. And, now I feel like there's this openness. I'm in a different place where I see healing for what it really is. And I know that I can get them there too. So it's really so powerful, and I can't say enough about it.
I want to also look into, I know you're no longer struggling with cancer and disease and autoimmune. Like, how was that journey, and how did you allow that to resolve, specifically with, like Simon pointed to, like the challenges that come up that we might not want to face? And I know for you, there was like the people pleaser habit. And those can be hard to, like, well, I don't want to change the habit because I'm getting a lot out of being a people pleaser. How did you navigate that journey when the challenges came up to allow that energy to be available for healing?
Yeah. I feel like, because I know that there's a way, like I've had enough experience now where I can be in my center and feel really good about it, no matter what's coming up. So there can be hard stuff that come up, but I feel like I have this inner resource and this way of meeting whatever the fear is. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question?
Yes. And what are you doing now? What is your life like now? And where are you letting that energy flow into what you're creating now?
Yeah. My life is so different now. This is my area where every morning I come and I watch the sunrise. I do my red light therapy. I do things. I meditate. I drink my coffee. And it's like, my time for myself is the most important. It's absolute, and that's different. I'm not running around trying to squeeze everybody in, and I really am protective of my time and what I need, because I know that I'm going to give other people so much more when I feel fulfilled in that way. So I do that in the morning. I do it at night. I do it as much as I can. I also just really cherish the little things and let that in. I think before I was so fixated on, well, I'll only be happy after I know I don't have cancer, and that was a lie. I wasn't happy then either, because I was afraid it was going to come back.
Yeah, it's a huge shift in trusting. And a lot of people will say also, like, so I'm just supposed to trust and then not do anything. Maybe you can speak to that, where there's a lot of things we do, but when we do them from certainty, from groundedness, from inner connection, they're usually very different things that we're doing, whether it's medications we take or treatments we do or getting tests, or, it doesn't mean we don't do anything. It doesn't mean we don't ever take medication. Like, it just means we're doing it from a sense of clarity of, will this support me at my true healing? Is this required for me? Is this going to be beneficial for me? So you want to maybe share what it's like navigating that?
Yeah. I think it's like, first of all, the truth in knowing, it comes slowly. At least for me, it came slowly. Like, it was baby steps. It was like those times when I would listen to your videos, and for the first time I would feel in my body a sense of relief. So I think that being really quiet and listening is really important. And no, I think it's also just knowing that I can handle anything that comes my way. And so, and feeling that, embodying that, like, yeah, whatever comes my way, I know I'm going to be able to manage that. And even just yesterday, like I was having some sinus pressure and I ended up going to the ER. I decided to just go. It wasn't out of fear, but in the past I would have been like, oh no, what if something's really wrong? What if I don't get in? What if I can't get what I need? And I kind of spin. And now, I was just like, no, I was able to just trust that the universe had my back. That's a big part of it. And really going in with a sense of love, of compassion for myself and for the situation, knowing that people were going to be there to help me. And then that's what happened. Does that help? Sorry, I don't have your audio.
Thank you. Christine said society is rewarding pretending, and we think we're helping others when we suppress and when we distract. But yes, so much more is possible when we do the exact opposite. Sometimes it's the exact opposite of what the programming says we're supposed to do, or what the programming says will bring us benefit. Just get better at suppressing your emotions. And that was very 1950s, right? Like the better you are at suppressing your emotions, the more you're going to win the game. And what people don't realize is like that win is a lose. You're not actually winning anything. And so the more we think we're benefiting others or we're benefiting our life by suppressing what we truly feel or disconnecting from what's happening within us. Hey, every disease in the world is stemming from that internal disconnection, from the inflammation and the tension that come in the physical body and in the physiology from emotional suppression and suppression of our true voice. And I know that was certainly true for you. And you uncovered like having manifested cancer, autoimmune Hashimoto's was a direct result of that. Maybe do you want to speak to like what that pattern was like? Because I think a lot of people would resonate with that as well and identify with that.
Yeah. And someone asked the question before I came on about ancestry, clearing that trauma. And that was definitely true for me. I was following in my ancestors' footsteps. I grew up in New England where you had to be proper and you had to like suck it all in. And you did not show that you had any feelings. And and so I just learned that pattern. Like you just stuff it and put on a happy face and do what you need to do. And I had family members who did exactly that. And so there was a period of time when I was feeling like I need to let that go. And am I betraying my family? But actually now I see it as, no, I'm actually helping them. Yeah. The pattern stops here in the family. And it's for them too. I believe, that they are also benefiting from this, even though they've passed.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Do you have anything else we didn't touch on relative to your experience with this program, what you'd recommend for others, or maybe any like hesitations or uncertainties you had that you were able to go beyond that other people might also benefit from hearing about?
Definitely, financially, it is a big investment. And I feel like it is so worth it. It really is. And you're investing in yourself, in your health. There just isn't anything more important, at least in my opinion, that this will change your whole life too. It's not just, it'll change your perspective. You will connect with other like-minded people that are all doing this work together too. And there's so much power in the group.
The question that's coming up too is, how did she know what emotions were underneath this and that? How did she release those emotions? And I know that's a main core piece of what we're doing in the work is like to get you connected with your inner universe, to establish that reconnection within, to release the disconnecting patterns. So do you want to speak to how this course greatly assisted you with like, not only like getting to what those emotions are, but even without getting to know what they were, to just allow them to release, and maybe speak a little bit of what this process is like, and allowing you to maybe release things you don't even understand.
Right. Yeah, I have. I've changed the way I view the emotions. I used to think my fear was about having cancer, but my fear was already there. And then I created cancer. And so I've disconnected that, and I see the feelings, fear and other feelings in my body as feelings to work with. So I'm tuning into my body and not necessarily seeing that the issues aren't out there. They're inside, right? The feelings are there. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. And did you find this work and the tools we're implementing like facilitated you doing that emotional release and no longer suppressing?
Yes, absolutely. The tools, Ho'oponopono has been huge for me, and seeing it as the father, the mother, and the child. My child has been screaming for years and years and years, and I'm finally listening, and it's like, oh, wait, okay, what are you needing? And so I give her what she needs, and that's the mothering part of me that gives her, and it's not this fight anymore. It's not 1 minute I'm like, losing my mind in fear, not having support, and then going out into the world and pretending I'm this, successful human. Those two pieces I've brought back into who I am, and they support each other. In fact, I'm wearing my mother-child necklace that I now use as a way of reminding myself that I'm right here to take care of all the parts of me that are needing my attention.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much for being here, Susan. I'm so grateful like you've unlocked that power within yourself to heal and to really go forward and create amazing things in your life.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love the program and highly recommend it for everyone who's watching. And definitely reach out if you have more questions.
And where can people find you? That would be a good place to connect.
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram, SusanKenneyLMFT.com. And that's my website. And then Instagram is just Susan Kenney LMFT.
Thank you so much, love.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, there is a really powerful process right up front in the beginning that we do that will just radically assist you in dropping in all of your emotions, the energy, the lineage, like any single thing that's ready to go. It's right here, right now. This is not about digging into your past or like therapy in the mind of bringing things back. It's truly about what's here now, because your system prioritizes that. And so based on the intention, whether it's I'm free from cancer, or our next person we have coming on, Martha, I'm resolving MS, I'm walking and I'm free and I'm strong. Or it's I'm at ease in my money, I'm supported financially, I'm living at peace, I've got off anxiety medications and I'm living in peace. It could be anything. So we give that, we hold that intention. Your body knows exactly how to create that. It knows what needs to be released. It knows what needs to be received. And so it's right here, right now. And all we're doing in this work is accessing the now deeply and allowing that releasing and that receiving to take place to match your highest intention. So thank you for asking that question about emotions. So there's processes right up front and things we do throughout the entire year to go deeper and deeper with allowing that healing process. So next up, we have Martha, who I've known for years, who's had an extraordinary healing journey. And again, a disease most doctors would say this is going to progress, this is going to worsen. We've had many people resolve MS, multiple sclerosis, who were going to die, literally with a hospital bed in the living room, on hospice. And through doing this work, this program of what we're doing here, turn that process around and allow the body to regenerate and are alive and well today. And Martha is one of the people who's resolved the pattern of MS after struggling with weakness and, cane and not being able to walk properly. And I'll let her share the story specifically. But I think the inspiring thing about Martha is how she's allowed this journey to continue to release what's not serving her, despite what the patterns may say about being a people pleaser, or also actually from the Boston area. It's a big theme today. And letting go of those patterns of suppression. So welcome, Martha. Thank you for being here.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Will you just share a little bit about your story, what you were struggling with, what brought you to this work, and what you've been experiencing as a result?
Well, Um, what brought me to this work was really like, so I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 1995. And for 20 years, I just tried to power through and ignore it and try a bunch of different medications. When I was first diagnosed, there wasn't anything for me to consider for medication. So that alone gave me this sense of dread, and that my doctor, I remember my doctor telling me when she gave me the diagnosis that we just don't know. We don't know how bad this is going to be for you. But what happens is your mind takes you to, oh, so what's possible? Like, what's the worst thing that's possible? And you start reading about wheelchairs and not being able to walk and all those kinds of things. So over 10 years, I was married and I had two little kids. I thought I had achieved really what I wanted. I had a nice job, a great husband, and I had two kids. I had a boy and a girl, and how fantastic was that? And then all of a sudden this hit me, and I had all kinds of numbness in my legs, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I wanted to go to the doctor and have them give me a pill and be done with it and fix it. And when I went to the doctor, they said, we don't know. We don't have anything to help you. So, this is your diagnosis and you're going to have to live with it. And so for years and years, I just kept powering through. I kept putting on my mother hat and my family hat and all my responsibilities. And I had to go to work and I had to take care of my family. And the more I ignored it, the more I had problems with it. And I had emergencies with it and had to go to the hospital and had times where I couldn't walk. I had times where I had things show up in my eyes that I couldn't see, and went on steroids and all kinds of things. And then in 2015, so 10 years ago now, I went on a business trip with my husband and I could not walk across the hotel campus because I wanted to go to an event and I couldn't even get there. Like I literally had to physically drag myself just to get 100 yards. And I said, what am I doing? And I actually met someone at that hotel who opened my eyes to the possibility of working with my energy in a different way. And so I came home to Boston and I said, oh, I'd really like to work with this person. It happened to be in Florida. And I said, nah, that person's not there. And I reached out to the universe and this person, Dr. Kim, showed up in my life. And I said, oh my gosh, she's local to Boston and I can connect with her. And so you actually had a meeting on something that was about relationships. And I was like, I don't really see my problem being relationships, but I just know that I want to meet this lady in person. So I went, and what I realized is this energy work is we share so much energy in a way that resonates. Like as people we all have the same problems. I mean, we all have the same inadequacies or believed inadequacies, fears, not being worthy, not worth spending money on ourselves. So I worked with you. I decided I'm going to work with you independently, and I still kept a really big wall up at that time. I didn't tell anyone that I was diagnosed with MS. I'd had it for 20 years and I felt I was hiding it really well. Obviously, when I had real difficulties walking and stuff, people thought either I was drunk or I was impaired or something, but I never wanted, I had a problem with my knee. I just didn't ever want to reveal my diagnosis because I felt if I didn't reveal it, it wouldn't be true. But the problem is that I believed it was true. I owned the diagnosis. I made it me, even though I was trying to hide it from the rest of the world. So what I learned, so I started working with you independently, and I still kept that really thick wall up and said, I can do this independently. I can work with you. I had such incredible progress to open up to receive more and to change my orientation to believing that it was my MS. And it's actually a really big step for me to say, no, I have a diagnosis. My symptoms reflect a diagnosis of MS, but it's not my MS. And I'm going to separate myself from that MS. And I'm going to observe what happens if I am open to not being MS. And so we did a lot of great work together independently, and it just blossomed and blossomed and blossomed. And I went from a place where I really couldn't walk and move properly to be back walking and moving and skiing and playing golf and enjoying my life. And but I realized that I covered some of the things, but there were pieces of my fear that still existed. And in 2023, I learned about your Embracing Health program. And I said, well, I've already invested so much money with Dr. Kim. I really don't think I want to go do this again. I'm so busy. I have so many other things on my plate. My life is good. My life is good enough the way it is. I'm very satisfied. I'm moving, I'm doing things I want to do. So I'm not going to do that. So then it came up again in the summer of 2024, and I was feeling a lot of negative energy because I lost my mom at 62. And last summer was my 62nd birthday. And I was feeling still there was a little piece of me that felt that could be my destiny, that 62 was going to be it for me. And even though all signs in my life were not the same as the signs in my mom's life at that time, she had a very disabling disease that took her away from us way too soon. And so I said, you know what? I think it's time for me to invest in myself again. And I went through the same thing a lot of people do. Like, I don't have the money. I'm not worth spending that kind of money on myself. And I just made a decision that, how many people say to you, like, I'd pay $1 million to feel better, but they really don't stand behind that. Like, and so I said, you know what, I'm going to commit to this year. I really want to commit to, I think a year long is going to give me the runway to continually revisit this. And so I committed to it. And the second I committed to it, I expected my husband to say, oh, what are you spending money on, more of that airy fairy stuff? And he said, oh, is that all it costs? You should do that. You should do that. Absolutely do that. And so I had created all this angst about even disclosing to my husband that I wanted to spend that money. And then he said, oh, absolutely. Go ahead and do it. But what I didn't realize I was embarking in, and I actually really resisted participating in the program at the beginning, even though I signed up, was that I think Simon talked a little bit about this incredible group of people who are all ready to expand, and how we can share with each other, as someone else expands or as someone else hits a wall, we can relate and feel like, oh no, and sometimes I've seen that and say, no, I passed that wall. You can pass that wall too. Or sometimes I see expansion and say, oh, they can expand, I can expand too. And the energy of the group and the feedback that we get from each other with your mentors and with this whole process is just so, I just, I really believe in, I think you shared this quote with me, but when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I was so ready to work with you 10 years ago, and you appeared serendipitously in my life. And when I was ready to like shed this cloak that I've been wearing to hide that I have MS to the world, the more that I've been willing to say, no, I'm not any different than anyone else. Everyone else, there's so much time I've spent watching people be successful and say, well, they can have that, but that I'm not worthy of that. But then I realized that I was also blocking what I could share with people in order to help them along, and how we all we're all the same energy. We all share it. So
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming forward and sharing this. I know you've had an incredible journey, and that second piece you shared about like it's good enough, and then the willingness to ask for more, and how your partner responded. You know, a lot of times our partner will respond in a way that may be resistant, and I want to encourage people to know like your partner will reflect any of your internal like self-doubt or unworthiness and like question it and bring it up for you. And like Martha, when you've resolved some of that and you have more of a, I know I'm worthy, I know what this will create for me, I will invest in myself and the time and energy and finances to create the greatness in me. When that is a grounded conviction, your partner is going to support that. Well, in a healthy partnership, yeah, I can feel you that this is the right thing for you. So I think that's a really important point to bring up, is like sometimes they just reflect your own lack of alignment with what you're saying you're asking for. So you're like, you're asking for it, but you're like, I don't really think I deserve it. They may reflect that. So it's beautiful that your partner reflected this new foundation you've created of I'm worthy, I'm worth investing in myself. And what would you say that has created with kind of doubling down on that investment of like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's good enough, but what is the more? What is the higher possibility that I haven't even considered?
oh, I mean, it's really fun. Even listening to Simon and Susan earlier is what else is possible? If I've been hiding, spent so many years hiding my diagnosis, so hiding myself and not really getting out and doing things with other people. So I'm really ready to see what's next for me, because I'm not a, I'm not an energy professional, or I'm not working in that field. But I've had several people I know that I've expanded because I have conversations with different people, and they're like, "Oh, you're really good at this. You should be a coach. You should talk to people about this." And I said, "No, it's not I had to turn off the only way I can be a coach is to go in and take care of and fix for somebody else." And I think the real big expansion that I've felt in this program is realizing that that when I rely on something outside of me to fix me, it just doesn't work. Like when I look into myself and say, there's nothing that really needs to be fixed. You just need to open your heart more and be more aware of all this negative self-talk and all these limiting beliefs that you have bought into, and so I think sometimes it really requires you to slow down and be quiet and say, observe yourself and say, what is so true about this belief that I have? Why have I made this so true in my life? And why is there a different way to look at this? Is there a way to look at this with some compassion and say, yeah, it was okay until now for you to feel that way because you're just trying to protect yourself. I even realized with my walking and falling that my brain was trying to say, you're not safe in this world, so stop. So I'm going to stop you by making you fall. And falling hurts. Like you get hurt when you fall. So how is it possible that I could just look at that a little bit differently and say, oh, I do feel safe. Let me expand a little bit more, and just a little bit more at a time. You don't have to go run a marathon. You can, for me, walking around the block was a huge win. And now I can think about, well, maybe I could run a marathon someday. Not that that's high on my bucket list,
Yeah.
but what is possible when you say what is possible and what is wrong about, what have I made so true? Because you've talked about this, fear is false evidence appearing real. And how much evidence have I given myself to say, yes, stay away from that because it's dangerous. So I want to expand more and see how I can help other people.
I can see that is something really beautiful for you that lights you up, is to, like you said, whenever I'm going for the resources that disconnect me with myself and I'm looking outside myself versus like being receptive, letting in the resources that strengthen my connection with myself, that let me go deeper within to the infinite source within me. Those are the resources that are going to be the most potent, and they're invaluable. And I know you've come so far with like your own joy, letting in joy and releasing negativity and like percolating more in that. And I think that's going to be a huge part of, if you do go forward to assist others, which I think you're already doing, that others are gaining from you already. But maybe setting that up in a more formal way, it will be from, this brings me joy. It brings me joy to assist others in their own connection with source. And you'll do it in a very different way from what you thought about, like, oh, now I got to fix others. It's so much more light and easy when we just resource them to that inner connection. So I wish you the best with everything you move forward with, and to continuing to embody that joy.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that, I think Susan talked about the Ho'oponopono and how that doing that Ho'oponopono practice, she saw the father, the mother, the child. It really shed light on how maybe my definition of being a mother was, you take care of everyone by doing things for them and fixing them. And now that I have adult children, I realize more and more, I still want to go fix things when things don't work for them. But I realize that you have to listen to them and let them find their own way. And in the Ho'oponopono meditation, that's exactly what I'm doing within my own soul, my own spirit, is that letting myself realize that I don't have to fix things. I just have to become aware and look at it a little bit differently.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. People were really touched by your sharing, and I know it's opening something within them. So especially with something like MS or other diseases that doctors will say, this is lifelong, this is progressive, here's the road. And when we understand how to create foundational shifts and how to create shifts within our neural networks and our neural patternings, we truly can have a very, very different course. And you're living proof of that. So thank you for receiving this work and being a great example.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys. All right. Any questions coming up? We have another amazing person with an amazing story to come on. Maureen Mancuso said, embracing health is worth 1,000 times more than the cost. Dr. Kim and the mentors in the program were so helpful in my healing journey. I'm so grateful to them and all of this amazing group. If you're interested in this program, you won't regret it. Beautiful. I love that there's so many people here to support and share results. Like I said earlier, for a lot of people, we got to see it. We got to see it. We got to hear it. We got to hear it. And then it goes into our subconscious. It allows a release of what we are holding with the beliefs of like, that's not possible for me. Maybe you see yourself in someone here, just a little twinkling of a bit that allows you to open to the possibility of like, whoa, maybe there is something possible for me. And then you start to let that receptivity in and let something in that you didn't already know, or that maybe you were resisting before unconsciously. So I hope you do start to see possibility for yourself. These people are no different than you. The miracles they have allowed in, they're really the tip of the iceberg. Simon, it was over a year ago that he finished the program. And since then, from what he shared last year with healing long COVID, immediately the next day getting out on his bike after a year of being debilitated on his disability, that is a miracle. And for everyone, the journey is different. And so now a year later for him, it's like this pending marriage and work that he's doing. And it's like you take all that energy that goes in to heal the body, and then you're still letting that energy in every day. And now that energy goes into creating amazing miracles in your life and in your relationship. And so there's no limit to what you're here to create. We're always on a journey. Let in the resources that accelerate your creativity, your manifestation, your consciousness, your frequency, your well-being, your true wealth, peace, prosperity. Like, everyone is here for that. So share with us what's coming up for you as you listen, what questions are arising, and what you're ready to receive. Next, we have Carrie, who is a beautiful, beautiful soul who had a serious disease and with nasal polyps and continuing surgery after surgery after surgery, and it would just all grow back and like really debilitated from this horrible sinus disease. And other illnesses she was diagnosed with as well. She's going to share the pain and all of the story. But one of the most potent things about Carrie is how she let this in to such a deep degree cellularly. She was able to clear that disease with the recurrent nasal polyps and was able to heal. But because of what she was embodying in this work, her daughter healed as well. And she shared last year when she came on, like her daughter didn't take the course and study this. And it was Carrie's embodiment of greater peace, greater prosperity. Remember, we are electromagnetic. We are an electromagnetic field, and that has an effect on our kids, and that has an effect on our family and our loved ones. And it allowed her daughter to navigate a life-threatening disease in a very graceful way, where they had resources, things completely resolved, and she went from being at I think it was stage 4 of lupus to complete resolution, where they did the biopsy and the kidneys were healed and her body healed. And so, yes, these are miracles. Are, like I say, miracles are not against science. They're just against what we understand to be science. We think your body's a physical static thing. You got what you got to fix, you got to handle it. But your body's actually constantly morphing and changing, and it is amenable to that new physiologic arrangement. So this is a beautiful story, and I'm going to welcome Carrie here. If you can come maybe a lot closer to the camera so we can see you. Thank you so much for being here, and I would love you to share your story and your journey.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here and share my story. I guess I started embracing health because a friend of mine had shared your work with me, and I had, done a few of your courses, like on mini levels. You had a few like weekend things that I tried, and every time it resonated with me, and I got bits and pieces and learned a little bit more. But initially it was really, I had these allergies that had really affected me for a good 10 years, where I just literally could not breathe through my nose at all. Everybody constantly thought I sounded sick and just sounded horrible because I couldn't breathe and had that constant nasal sound. And then I was also kind of dealing with, I feel like hormone imbalance, where my body, I just had achy joints. I was constantly feeling fatigued. And when I would wake up in the morning, I felt like I was walking down the stairs like an 80-year-old. And just, I couldn't find anything that would help. I tried like naturopathic types of approaches. I tried acupuncture. I had done yoga. And, everything helped to a little degree, but nothing really resolved it in a way that I feel like I just was spending so much time focusing on like, oh, I need to adjust my diet, or I need to, take all of these supplements and blah, 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 for trying to help resolve all that. So I guess when I came to you, I was also at a point in my life where I was experiencing tremendous anxiety and just like not feeling like I was, in a good place with my life. I think I was really trying to figure out, what I was called here to do, really. I always had that kind of like in the back of my mind too. And I just felt like your program kind of encompassed everything that I was trying to figure out, I guess, in life at the time. So when I started, it really I started realizing how to just kind of open myself up to things, in life, that how to connect with what really felt like which direction I needed to go made more sense. Where I feel like before I was just trying to kind of like force things all the time. And when it wasn't going the way that I wanted, that you're trying to control everything. And now I've learned how to kind of like step back from that and look at my emotions and kind of just accept what is a little bit more. So I guess I'm feeling like I'm getting a little off track.
Wait, it's a good point you just made, because when people understand accept what is, a lot of times what they're thinking that means is resignation. Oh, I just got to resign myself to, like, you get what you get and don't even bother asking for more. And what we're really doing in the work is the acceptance or the embracing is, I'm going to receive what's here. I'm going to receive my moment. But that is a moment of non-resistance. And what happens when, like you said, you're letting go of control, all the energy that went into controlling is now available for the body to heal. And so letting go is like to give your body that energy instead of me controlling the outcome or being attached. And so the letting go or the accepting is, I'm going to receive what's here so that I can allow more. I can allow more grace, more ease, more peace, more freedom. And so very different from resignation, which is, stop wanting more. It's exactly the opposite. And I know for you, that was a huge factor with, okay, I got to just resign myself. I got this problem. I just got to live with it. And I know several people who do this, where they actually have these recurrent sinus surgeries. It's horrifying. Someone I know has to go like every 6 weeks or month and get the sinuses cleaned out, gutted out, and then they can sort of survive over the next few weeks. And that's what you get when you're not accessing your body's ability to heal, that managing the situation and like make do with what you got. What is it like for now? And what is it freed up for you that you've let yourself access that true healing?
Yeah, I think, when I was in the midst of all of that, there was this big feeling of, I don't know, just being the victim, like, oh my gosh, how I like just the simplest thing of being able to breathe. I can't even do that. And I just had that real mindset, and I was like angry about it, because I was sick of people constantly asking me if I was sick and, being on the phone. And I just felt, I don't know, it was during COVID on top of it all. So then I just felt like I always had to kind of like be away from people because I was worried people were judging that I was sick, and that I shouldn't be around all of the people and things like that. So, I mean, for me, that was a huge thing. But I mean, as I went through the program, the emotions and all of the other things that I started learning was how to be more accepting of what I was going through. I guess I started with like the EFT tapping that really started helping me with my body and the pain in my body. And when I was seeing the changes that started happening with that, I was, honestly kind of like, wow, I can't believe that this is actually helping me. Because I feel like my sinuses caused a lot of issues and pressure in my neck joints and all of that, and just the way I kind of functioned, which then kind of like overtook my body. So I just felt like I had just, overall, just these feelings of, having a hard time just getting through my day. And so as I moved through the program and started doing just all of the different bits and pieces, like I released so much. And then the length of time that I had been feeling, sick or my body, aches and joints and fatigue, it started getting less and less and less, until the point where I was getting up and I was all of a sudden one day feeling like, oh my gosh, like I didn't have to do all these routines I used to do, the neti pot in the morning, or all of my supplements that I needed to take. And like, just, I feel like I had to be so regimented in order to just get through the day and function, that all of a sudden I was like, oh, I don't really need to be doing all of those things. It can be more of a, natural process throughout the day to just get up and live, instead of feel like I'm like trying to push through it. Yeah, I know, it was like, whoa. So, that was kind of in the beginning what it was all about. And then I felt like just things started coming to me much easier as far as like the doctors that I got connected with. I mean, I always felt like I was fighting against them too, because I was trying to do more natural healing. And then I didn't like that they wanted to put me on a certain medication, and I had judgment about taking it and how that was going to be. So once I became more open to just what I could feel okay with doing and what would actually help me, and not having judgment against it too, then everything started opening up and changing for me, really. And even, I think I didn't realize it when I started. I had so much tension in the household and how I was parenting too. And that was what was causing me a lot of anxiety. And there was just a lot of guilt around, I don't know, watching how my children were growing up and feeling like, oh, we're doing this wrong and we're going to screw them up. And, just all of these things that ended up also coming kind of to surface while I was doing your program, that I feel like while my daughters were going through middle school, it's such a time of tension for a lot of parents, and we had a lot of difficulty connecting, and I felt like I was losing, that connection with them that I really truly wanted as a parent. And that was really hard for me too. And I feel like what I've learned, and again, the person right before us, I think Martha had said, when you let your child figure things out for themselves, I think as parents, you feel like you want to resolve all of these issues for your kids and allow, try to fix it for them. And each one of us really needs to learn how to follow our own light within ourselves and follow our heart and know how to find the solution for ourselves, because I can't solve something for someone else. That's their journey. My journey is within me. And when I follow that, it may help somebody that's near me, someone, but I can't solve it for them. And that was the biggest thing leading into my daughter's sickness. That was really difficult too, because halfway through the program, my daughter got diagnosed with lupus. And there were so many things leading up to it that, I felt so much guilt that I had missed, and that it was so hard to watch her going through it, and felt, a lot of anger, of course. And, oh my gosh, so much fear, because once she got diagnosed, she went for her first biopsy, and we found out that it was affecting her kidneys, and we hadn't understood to what level, and it was very serious, and she was hospitalized. And I was so frustrated at that point, because I had been doing all this work and I had these ideas that, oh my gosh, well, I did all this work, so, my energy should have shifted and I shouldn't have these things to deal with anymore. And just turned to the community again, and, just was guided how to, just receive and be open to what was coming, and to try not force be the fixer in the situation. So I guess long story short, she went through the whole year, and I just kept working on myself, and I would introduce her to some of the things that I was learning, and she was open to some of it, and she is, she does her own, she goes her own route, and that's where I needed to learn, when I'm like, oh my gosh, I know this is going to fix her, so we need to do this, and then try to force it upon her. That was my go-to for so many years, where I've learned that it doesn't work. And so the more I worked on myself and allowing and receiving, that was a huge lesson for me. yeah, it was a year of her, again, taking medications that I was really, kind of frustrated with at first and feeling so scared about all of these things that she was going to need to do to her body. But the more that I opened up, I mean, it was incredible. The doctors that came our way, the different, we found, I guess, more of like naturopath that worked together with the Western medicine doctors. And just that alone, the fact that they were open to working with each other was such a big step for me, because I feel like when I've tried to do that before, it was really hard to be able to like align together with all of that. So that was huge. But so my daughter, every time she went for lab work, her labs just kept getting better and better. And one of the biggest indicators that she had, I won't know the medical test or whatever, but it was one of the lab results. A normal level is at a 9, and she was at 192. And that was the one that was like the biggest indicator that she had lupus. And every time we would go, it would just keep decreasing. And, finally around summer, it was at a normal level again. And then in October, she went for her biopsy, and, we were expecting that she would still have some signs that we would still need to like deal with, I guess. The doctors said, the turnaround wouldn't be that quick, because she was at, so when she got her original biopsy, I don't know if I said this, she was at a level 4, or the, which is very severe kidney nephritis, like lupus nephritis attacking the kidneys. That was at a very severe level. And so to turn that around in the amount of time, they had not expected that. Her doctors were saying that they were seeing that her labs were improving continually, but still not able. They would think that we would still be looking at some activity in the kidneys. But when she went, her doctors replied to me, and they said, I don't even know what to say. They're like, her kidneys are clear, and she should be showing.
Even the dogs are celebrating.
They were expecting to even see like scarring left on her kidneys because of how severe it had been, and there was nothing. And when we went for the visit, they were like, I don't even really know what to say. Like, I've never seen these results before. And it's a miracle, and it just, what we went from, I don't know, 2024, it's just hard to believe, all of the things that we've experienced, in all honesty.
Thank you so much for sharing that story, Carrie, especially with your vulnerability and what happened with your daughters. And parenting can be so challenging, because once we learn we impact our kids, we think it's wrong that they have struggles, or you really learn to mother from love and from support, as opposed to the urgency and fear that comes from like, I can't let you have a bad experience. And I know that was a huge, huge part of what allowed your daughter to resolve this so fully and be free from lupus. And yes, it is a medical miracle, because in the paradigm most doctors are operating from, that is not possible, that is not available. It just doesn't happen. And in truth, it absolutely can. And it's a matter of asking what is required so that we can heal, what is required so we can allow a resolution instead of just managing. So thank you so much for being here with us, and
of course,
all of that. And do you have anything to say for people who are interested for themselves? I know there are a lot of people here who are touching into like, yeah, this bottomless despair, this part of me that's like, that can't happen for me. Or someone had said, wow, as soon as I soften my body, there's just screaming that wants to come out. And we think that means it's wrong. And that's actually the energy releasing that really frees you up for healing. So for Lori and Laura and other people commenting, like, that is the journey, is actually beginning to touch into that seemingly bottomless pit of sadness or despair or hopelessness. That's what Carrie and Susan and Simon and Martha and everyone else here has actually moved through, not avoided, not fixed, not put the, ice cream on top of poop and just be positive. It's actually to let that resolve, because what's true cannot be threatened, and what's untrue doesn't actually exist. It's not real. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to prevent it. You don't need to manage that seemingly bottomless pit of fear, despair, hopelessness. It's actually allowing ourselves to open so that it can truly move through is what we're doing here. So I don't know if you have anything to add for those considering embarking on this process.
I mean, my life is completely changed. I am a new person. The way I look at life is completely different. And when I was, introduced to your program and listening to you, I don't think you can't completely understand that concept when you're in that mindset, I guess, until you start the program. When you start the program, you just are getting like little bits, and they keep building on each other. And I think you might, I don't know, when I started, I wanted it all so bad, and I wanted it all right now. And once I started opening myself to just doing what I could in that day to be open and accepting of what was coming up for me, I feel like that amplified the process, or the speed of like what was coming to me regularly. There's just so much in the program. I feel like the mentors, just the information that you give us regularly. I mean, it's just this constant reminder, because it's so easy to forget, whether it's the tools that you're using or just how to kind of change the process of how you go about your day. Because, we're so used to what we've done for so many years. And so you need to constantly kind of like go back and remind yourself, oh, wait, no, there's a different way of doing this. And it works a lot better, even though you're accustomed to doing things the way that you have for so many years. And you're probably going to keep going back to that because that was just old habit. The more that you practice this, the more you easily move into using the concepts and the ideas more, easily through your day.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you've moved into that exhilaration and joy of aliveness, and such a beautiful, loving relationship with your daughters. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for all you do, Kim.
You. All right. So much love to you. People can reach out to Carrie. Where is the best place to find you?
I guess on the circle, was where I've done a lot of communication with you. And I did post something on the Mind Body through Facebook.
Yeah, that's a great place. If people are not in the Mind Body community, that's a great place to connect with everyone who's here and to ask current Embracing Health participants about, hey, what's possible for me?
Sure.
And that's a Facebook group that we have, the Mind Body community. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd love to hear more questions. We're still going to stay on. We have a couple more people who are going to share, and these are the leaders, the lead mentors in Embracing Health. Jen and Ellen have been doing this work for years, have both healed very, very severe, debilitating chronic illness, but found that illness coming up in their life wasn't like, this is some curse I got to handle. It was, this is life inviting me to a whole new way of being, to let go of control, to let go of a lot of the mind or who I thought I was, and to really allow in what true healing is. Because when we embrace health, it's understanding this is already available to me. This is already here for me. Will I let myself access it? So just because something's available doesn't mean we're accessing it. You guys, a lot of times our electromagnetic field is in closure. Our heart is closed down. Our vibration is, we are protected. We are not accessing the wealth, the health, the abundance, the joy, the friendship, It's here. It is here for you. And so what can I do to let myself access it is really the question we should be asking. And so for those of you sharing comments here about challenges, difficulty, the seemingly bottomless pit of despair or hopelessness, and then it can make us like, oh, I'm not going to go there because mine is a bottomless pit and it will suck me in forever and I'll never get there. And then using it as one more reason to stay in closure or disconnection or shut down or emotional suppression. Yep, it's going to keep you stuck in the matrix. Fear is false evidence appearing real, like Martha reflected. So will I actually question that? Curiosity is a way to initiate that brain change, to initiate a neural reintegration, activate neuroplasticity. So curiosity is that even true? It sure feels hopeless. It sure seems bottomless. And this belief sure is telling me I better not go there because I'm never getting out of that pit. What's actually true? And just asking that question, what's actually true here? Could that level of healing and prosperity be available to me? Could I let myself access that? Is that possible? That's curiosity. That changes your brain state. You're no longer in that beta brain wave of the program. You just began to open, just began to slow it down to a level where there is receptivity. You got to get receptive before something new can come in. So that's always the first step. All right, I'm going to bring Jen and Ellen here. Thank you guys for being so awesome, for being pioneers of this work, for coming through your own journey to be the embodiment of what this is, the living, breathing example of what's available for all of us, and for being part of sharing and assisting so many from passion and devotion to come through this journey themselves.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
Why don't you share, whoever would like to begin, just what this has been like for you, not only on your personal journey, but like what it's been like to activate something within yourself that you can actually be of service, that this horrible experience ends up being an activator and a gift, and what it was like then and where you are now.
Yeah, go. Oh gosh, especially those beautiful comments about that depth of hopelessness and despair. Like that was who I was to a T. My whole life, it was carrying around like epic amounts of pain and trauma and darkness. It was unbearable until I got to the point where I couldn't carry it anymore and my body just got really sick. And then I was in bed for 10 years with Lyme disease, co-infections, Epstein-Barr, crazy autoimmune disease. I had like a list like so long of everything that was wrong with me. And I was at such a place of desperation and hopelessness. Well, first desperation. I tried everything in the world I could to heal. And when absolutely nothing worked, I just sunk into a place of hopelessness where I would not even make a plan, like not even in the next hour, because I didn't even have faith that anything could ever go right. And all of that was like, it's so hard to say this because I can feel the people on the other side receiving it. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was the greatest invitation for me to finally wake up and love myself enough to start healing and to start dropping all of the pain and the trauma and all of those dense energies that my whole life, all I knew how to do was suppress and swallow, right? And if it wasn't for this depth of illness, I would have kept moving through life half alive, right? So here Lyme came and it put me in bed for a long time and I got to sit there and I got to really learn that I was worthy of living. I didn't know that for a really long time, right? And then I got to finally learn that loving myself was the beginning of this. It was the beginning of this journey, right? And I stopped running from the hopelessness. I stopped running to the despair, and I started running towards it. And that is what allowed me to heal. So everyone who's commenting about this bottomless depths of despair, it's only bottomless when you're resisting it and when you're running away from it, right? Once you finally learn to turn towards it that's when true healing begins.
You're muted.
You're muted, love. Okay.
Yeah. So I know for you, the Lyme, so that's like a reflection of that. You're screwed. It's hopeless. You got nothing. I'm going to take over. And so for those of you who don't know about Lyme, it's such like a sneaky, pervasive, not understood by the medical community experience to go through, where it's like you have no power and there's no way out. And it's almost like the consciousness of Lyme is challenging your own belief of I'm helpless.
Right.
So, but I'm going to push through and I'm going to fight and I'm going to overcome. And so it's an invitation of, are you ready to let go of that way of being? Are you ready to let go of control and overpowering and allow in true power?
Yeah. And that was my whole life. I was fighter girl. I raged against everything because I had so much pain and so much trauma. The only thing I knew how to do was fight. Right. So that's what Lyme came to teach me, to show me, to hold up this mirror and say, this isn't your highest truth. Right. And it's so funny in this community, like people say I'm sparkly and I like giggle every time because my whole life I've been the dark, emo, like depressed girl. And then people, right. But without Lyme, I never would have found my truth. Like this is who was beneath all that darkness. This is who was beneath the pain and the fighter. Right. But I never knew.
It's funny that you just said that because I see exactly what you're saying. And I've known you for years now. And I forgot all about that. Like there is such a brightness and a lightness and a authentic lightness. But you're 100% right. Like I know the darkness you were living in. I saw the lightness through that. And we together, you've emerged into your lightness. But wow, I forgot how true that was.
Right. And that's part of the beauty of EH. You saw the lightness when I didn't. I was happy living like out of a thimble. Right. And you kept inviting me more and more and more. Are you ready to accept more? And I was like, what? This is good enough. I'm out of bed. I thought that was enough. Ooh, it's not. It wasn't even close.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
My kids call her Sparkly Jen.
Yeah. She's beautiful. I know. Well, we know this Jen so well that it's, and I know that Carrie said the same. She's like, I'm not even recognizable from who I was a year, before I started. And I think for everyone that comes through, there's a major foundational shift, but we can keep going with that more and more and more, emerging into what life has in store for us. So this is really a new way of living, a new way of being, and living in alignment with. I want to share a little insert right here. There's another client I worked with in the past, and she's gone through this divorce. And right now, like the ex is all this slander and all these lies. And she had electric shock therapy, and she's psychotic, and she's mental, and it brought up everything in her of fear, challenge, rage. But what we looked at was like this person, because relationships, just like a disease, circumstances of life will juxtapose. They will smack you in the face with a mirror. Where is it pointing her to, like her own self-doubt, her own fear? Because false evidence appearing real, like this, you stand in the light of the truth. This will just show that the other person is in falsehood. The other person is totally feeling powerless. That's why they're throwing all this stuff at you. And it's an opportunity for her to find the strength and double down on it. I know who I am. I cannot be harmed. I will stand in that strength. And it literally creates a power in your electromagnetic field, which can be quantified. It can be demonstrated up to 8 to 10 feet of your body. We can scientifically detect this field. And when it's at that high frequency, no one can touch you. You're untouchable. And so, yeah, that's really what, life is creating for us, is like, how do we stand in that space of truth, no matter what's happening? I want to make space for Ellen because we have just 5 more minutes, but thank you guys for being here. Ellen, will you just share briefly about what your journey's been like?
Yeah. My journey is a little bit unique because I didn't really have any trauma growing up. Life was perfect. It was wonderful. But that's just because I was not connecting to actually any of my emotions. I was only connecting to joy. I was living like from here up. I was so happy, people pleasing, serving others, staying so busy, being like such a great employee, such a great employer, that I wasn't really connected to my life at all, actually. And so then in 2018, I like to say that the universe kind of pulled the key out of the ignition as I was, speeding down the highway. And I had no choice but to actually look inward. And so, like Jen and pretty well everybody, I just spent years fighting, trying to find a cure, trying to heal myself, doing programs, seeing specialists, trying medication. And I found you. I didn't understand a word you said, but I persevered because it just was such a clear yes for me. And I did the program in 2020, and I learned how to surrender. I learned how to stop fighting and to allow all the emotions, to allow the fatigue. Oh, sorry, I didn't say. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, reactivated Epstein-Barr, Hashimoto's, and even almost 30 years ago, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And none of it is living in my body anymore. So this program has taught me how to go inward, how to feel, how to validate those feelings, and how to embrace life. Healing disease is literally just the cherry on top. That's what you come here for. But what you actually come here for is to learn how to love yourself and to live abundantly and with so much vitality. And my illness was by far the greatest gift ever handed to me, without a doubt.
What is your life like now, and your ability, I guess, and passion to contribute to others? I know you thought like, I don't have a degree, I don't have this and that, what do I have to give? But what you've actually found is like, as you've tapped into that wellspring within you, it's igniting the same for them.
Yeah, I am so honored to serve this community that gave me life. Like the Embracing Health community gave me life, and I am living life to the fullest. I am committed to traveling. I am traveling all around the world with my 84-year-old dad, with my family. I'm walking 4 miles a day. Jen came down to visit, and so that we're working on the Embracing Health program on the small pods. We're walking on the beach. We're dancing. I mean, life could not be better. So it is such an honor to give back and be that shining light for people to see what is truly possible. Because if it's possible for me, I was the least conscious person you have ever met prior to getting sick. So if it's, available for me, for Jen, for Simon, for Susan, it is available for you.
1,000%.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for what you're sharing. It's just making me feel so energized. And it makes me think of like mirror neuron effect. It's important for you guys to understand scientifically, the mirror neuron effect is like, as you're watching someone, as you're listening, as you're tuning in, you're connecting with Jen and Ellen and communicating. It's a transmission of consciousness. When you're watching like bloopers and people falling, it creates changes in your brain and your physiology for inflammation in your body as if you're falling. And same thing, mirror neuron effect. There is a integration. It's a transmission from someone who has gone from A to B, depth of doldrum of despair, and actually walked that journey. It integrates a strength within them that is transmitted. So through their words, their tonality, not just like there's the magical tool, it is through their embodiment. That is the number one thing, is the embodiment you hold is what transmits your result. And so for Jen and Ellen, who've walked this journey to such a depth, like I don't think there will be anybody who comes into this program that has a deeper, something that can't be solved from what we've accessed ourselves, myself, Jen, Ellen, everybody who's like, it's going to happen for you. because we've accessed it. So that is the invitation, and you're invited to step into this just for that transmission of consciousness. It is here for you. We're so excited for you to join us. The link is at drkimd.com/health. Doors are open until the 31st of this month. So we have a couple weeks, and we're so grateful to have you come. Let us know what questions you have. Reach out. We are available to assist you on every level of this journey and accessing the resources that you can come in and be a part of this as well.
Could I just say that we're having a workshop on January the 21st? Kim, do you want to give details for that?
Yes. So the workshop will be integrating more of these tools, giving you a taste of what this work is like. The link is at drkimd.com/workshop, and you can register for free to join us for that. Email us at support@drkimd.com. One of the three of us will reach back to you and connect with you personally so that we can really assist you at the deepest levels of resourcing yourself and coming in for this massive shift in your own consciousness.
And if you're not on the newsletter, sign up on the newsletter, because Jen and I are hosting a Q&A on Monday, January the 27th at 11 a.m. Mountain. So if you're not on the newsletter, please sign up at drkimd.com.
Stay tuned for that. You'll have all the information of what we're doing. All right. I love you guys. Woo!
Yeah, this was so good.
Thank you guys all for being here. We'll see you soon.